Book title: My Journey to Learn English. Chapter 1: The Quiet Girl. My name is Sarah, and this is my story. Growing up in a small town, I was known as the quiet girl. I wasn't quiet because I didn't have anything to say, but because I didn't know how to say it in English. At home, we spoke our native language, and English was something I only heard on TV or at school. The words felt foreign on my tongue, and I was too shy to try speaking them. Every time the teacher called on me to read aloud or answer a question, my heart would race. The other kids seemed to speak English so easily, but for me, it was a mountain I didn't know how to climb. I often felt like an outsider, sitting silently while others chatted and laughed. Chapter 2: The Turning Point. One day, everything changed. It was a regular afternoon at school when the teacher announced a class presentation. We had to talk about our favorite book in English, of course. The thought of speaking in front of the class terrified me. I went home that day with a heavy heart, dreading the moment I would have to stand in front of everyone and speak. But something inside me stirred. I realized that I didn't want to be the quiet girl anymore. I didn't want to feel left out or afraid. I wanted to express myself, to share my thoughts and ideas just like everyone else. So I made a decision. I would learn English, no matter how hard it was. Chapter 3: Small Steps, Big Changes.
I started small.
Every evening after school, I would spend an hour reading English books. At first, I chose simple books, the kind meant for young children. The sentences were short, and the words were easy to understand. I would read them aloud, practicing how each word sounded. It felt strange at first, like my mouth wasn't used to forming these new words, but I kept going. I also began to watch English TV shows with subtitles. I would listen carefully to how the characters spoke, trying to mimic their pronunciation. Sometimes I would pause the show and repeat a sentence over and over until it sounded right. Slowly, I started to understand more and more of what was being said. Chapter 4: Facing the Fear. The day of the presentation arrived. I stood in front of the class, my palms sweaty, my heart pounding in my chest. But this time something was different. I wasn't just nervous, I was determined. I had worked hard, and I wanted to show everyone, but most importantly myself, that I could do this. I took a deep breath and began to speak. The words didn't come out perfectly, but they came out. I talked about my favorite book, how it made me feel, and why I loved it. I looked up and saw my classmates listening, really listening. When I finished, the class clapped, and my teacher smiled. It wasn't a big moment, but it was a huge victory for me. Chapter 5: A New Confidence. After that day, something changed inside me. I started participating more in class, answering questions, and even making new friends. My English wasn't perfect, but it was improving every day. I began to enjoy learning, discovering new words and phrases, and using them in conversations. I also found that learning English opened up new worlds for me. I could read books that I had never been able to read before, watch movies without subtitles, and even understand songs on the radio. English was no longer a barrier. It was a key to new experiences and opportunities. Chapter 6: Sharing My Story. As I grew older, I realized that my struggle with English was something I shared with many others. I decided to start a blog where I could write about my experiences and share tips with others who were learning English. I wrote about the challenges I faced, the small victories, and the strategies that worked for me. To my surprise, the blog became popular. People from all over the world read my posts and left comments, sharing their own stories and asking for advice. I felt a deep sense of connection with them, knowing that we were all on this journey together. Chapter 7: The Journey Continues. Today, I'm proud of how far I've come, but I know the journey isn't over. Learning a language is a lifelong process, and there's always more to learn. But now, I face each new challenge with confidence and excitement, knowing that I can overcome it, just like I did before. My message to anyone reading this is simple. Don't give up. No matter how difficult it seems, you can learn English or any language if you take it one step at a time. Remember that every word you learn, every sentence you speak, brings you closer to your goal. And most importantly, don't be afraid to speak up. Your voice matters, and the world is waiting to hear your story. Epilogue. Looking back, moving forward. As I look back on my journey, I'm filled with gratitude for the experiences that shaped me. The quiet girl who once sat silently in class is now a confident young woman who can express herself in ways she never imagined. Learning English was more than just acquiring a new skill. It was a journey of self-discovery, courage, and growth. And so my story continues. I'm still learning, still growing, and still excited for what the future holds. I hope that my journey inspires you to keep going, to keep learning, and to never let fear hold you back. Because if I can do it, so can you. This story can be adapted into an audiobook format, with each chapter serving as a separate section, providing an easy-to-understand and engaging narrative for new English learners. Book title: My Path to English Mastery. Chapter 1: A Shy Beginning. Hello, my name is Aisha, and I want to share with you the story of how I learned English. My journey wasn't easy, but it was worth every step. I grew up in a lively neighborhood where everyone spoke our local language. English was something we learned at school, but it always felt distant, like a foreign visitor we didn't know how to welcome. I was a shy girl, often hiding behind my books, afraid to speak up. I would watch others speak English with such ease, and I wondered if I would ever be able to do the same. My fear of making mistakes kept me silent, even when I wanted to participate in class. English seemed like a mountain too high to climb, and I felt stuck at the bottom. Chapter 2: The Spark of Change. One day, a new teacher joined our school. Her name was Miss Clara, and she had a way of making English sound beautiful and fun. She would read stories in English, and though I didn't understand every word, I was captivated by the rhythm and melody of the language. It was like listening to music, and I wanted to learn how to sing along. Miss Clara noticed my hesitation in class and encouraged me to speak, even if it was just a few words. She would say, "Every word you speak is a step forward, Aisha. Don't be afraid to take that step." Her words stayed with me, and I began to think that maybe, just maybe, I could learn to speak English too. Chapter 3: First Steps in a New World. I decided to take that step. I started with something simple, labeling things around my house in English. I would write door, window, table on sticky notes and place them where I could see them every day. It was a small start, but it made a big difference. I began to recognize English words and connect them to the world around me. I also started reading children's books in English, the kind with lots of pictures and simple sentences. I would read them aloud, trying to mimic the sounds I had heard from Miss Clara. It was challenging at first, but with each page, I felt a little more confident. The more I read, the more I understood, and the more I began to enjoy it. Chapter 4: Finding My Voice. As I practiced, something amazing happened. I started to find my voice. I began to speak up in class, answering questions in English, even if my sentences weren't perfect. The fear that had kept me silent for so long started to fade, replaced by a growing sense of determination. I realized that making mistakes was part of learning, and with each mistake, I was getting better. Miss Clara's encouragement played a big role in this transformation. She would always praise my efforts, no matter how small, and she helped me believe in myself. I started to see English not as an impossible challenge, but as a journey I was capable of taking. Chapter 5: Embracing the Challenges. As I grew more confident, I decided to challenge myself further. I began watching English movies with subtitles, pausing to repeat phrases and practice pronunciation. I also joined an English club at school, where we would have conversations in English, play language games, and even act out short skits. These activities were not easy, but they were incredibly rewarding. I found that the more I pushed myself, the more progress I made. I started to think in English, to dream in English, and even to laugh at English jokes. The language that once felt so foreign was becoming a part of me. Chapter 6: The Power of Practice. One thing I learned along the way was the power of practice. Every day, I would set aside time to read, write, and speak in English. I kept a journal where I would write about my day, my thoughts, and my dreams in English. At first, my sentences were simple, but as I practiced, they became more complex and expressive. I also practiced speaking with my friends, even if it was just a few sentences at a time. We would correct each other and learn together. I realized that language is not just about memorizing words and rules. It's about communication, about connecting with others and sharing your ideas. Chapter 7: Overcoming Setbacks. Of course, there were setbacks. There were times when I felt frustrated, when I struggled with grammar, or when I couldn't find the right words. But I learned to see these challenges as opportunities to grow. Every mistake was a lesson. Every struggle a chance to improve. Miss Clara once told me, "Aisha, learning a language is like planting a tree. It takes time, patience, and care. But if you keep nurturing it, one day, it will grow tall and strong." Her words reminded me that progress might be slow, but it was steady, and it was worth the effort. Chapter 8: A Newfound Confidence. As time went on, I became more and more confident in my English. I started reading novels, writing essays, and even helping other students who were just beginning their own English journey. I realized that the language that once intimidated me had become a tool I could use to express myself, to learn, and to connect with others. I began to see the world in a new light. English opened doors for me that I never knew existed. I could now read books from different cultures, watch international films, and communicate with people from all over the world. It was as if a whole new world had opened up to me, and I was eager to explore it. Chapter 9: Sharing My Journey. Today, I'm proud to say that I'm fluent in English, but the journey never truly ends. I continue to learn and grow every day, and I want to share my journey with others who are just starting out. I started a YouTube channel where I share tips, stories, and advice for learning English. I want others to know that they are not alone, that they can overcome their fears and achieve their goals. The shy girl who once hid behind her books has found her voice, and she's using it to help others find theirs. My journey to learn English has been one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of my life, and I'm grateful for every step of it. Chapter 10: The Journey Continues. As I look ahead, I know that there will be more challenges, more opportunities, and more chances to grow. But I'm not afraid. I've learned that with determination, practice, and a little bit of courage, anything is possible. English is not just a language for me. It's a journey that has shaped who I am and who I will become. And so my story continues. I hope that by sharing it, I can inspire others to take that first step, to keep going, and to never give up. Because if I can do it, so can you. This audiobook can be divided into chapters, each focusing on a different aspect of Aisha's journey. It's designed to be easy to understand, engaging, and encouraging for new English learners. Subscribe for more videos. Your support helps me create more content. Thanks for watching.